helps you fix your chaturanga or push-up. Boom, boom, boom. What's up everyone? I'm gonna show you how to fix your plank. I see planks all the time in yoga and in training, and I see a ton of different mistakes. So I'm gonna show you some of the common mistakes I see, how to fix them to make sure that you're activating the right muscles and to make sure that you're staying safe, making sure you're not getting injured. So, first thing that I'll see is I'll see people like this. Their arms are long at an angle. They don't have their shoulders stacked over your wrists. So first thing you wanna do is make sure shoulders over wrists. That way you got a nice, tall, and aligned arm. Next thing I'll see is just kind of collapsed laziness. They're letting their scaps come together, chest is falling towards the floor. Really want to push that floor away. It creates that puff up in your back. It takes that little valley out between the shoulder blades here. Next thing I'll see, hips coming down and sinking down and low. You want to pull those up so that you're activating your core as you come up in here. So now when I'm pressing into the floor, hands are pressing in, shoulders directly over the hands, pressing the floor away, pulling that belly button up and in. Now this is a really active plank. I'm feeling it and it's strong. All right, now I'm gonna show you how to fix your mountain pose. So you might be asking why I've got my shirt off. It's to help illustrate some of the things that I'm gonna be showing. If I have my shirt on, it's a little bit hard to see the different alignment and positioning of my spine. So first thing you wanna do, get up nice and tall. You reach your arms overhead. When you reach your arms overhead, it's not reaching to the extent where your traps are turned on and your shoulders up next to your ear and it looks like your deltoid and your ear are having a nice conversation. Pull those shoulders down, activate some of the stabilizer muscles in the back of your shoulder and your lats. And then the last thing you want to do is rotate your pinkies in towards your ears. So you're going to externally rotate your shoulders, and what this does is it puts your shoulders in a much more protected position. We spend so much time in internal rotation, so if you're here, that's internal, external, boom, reach it up. Next thing you'll do is you want to make sure that you get your glute squeeze forward. You see this a ton of times, people reaching up, and they got that Kim Kardashian. And I say Kim Kardashian because that butt sticking out, a ton of extension in the lower back. And then they get their arms up here. Next mistake that I'll see is people get their arms up overhead, but it's at the expense of flaring their rib cage out. So when you reach up overhead, squeeze the glutes forward. If you can only get here, just get here. If you have to go here to get your arms overhead, you're coupling a bunch of different joints and you're creating a movement pattern that's not healthy or safe. I would never do this, moving, but when you come up overhead, now you've got lumbar here, an extension, chest flared out. Sure, I got my arms up overhead, but it's all right if you pull them down a little bit and bend your elbows. Hope that fixes your mountain pose, and hope you guys stay safe. All right, next pose we're gonna break down is the chair. And I like to think of the chair really as a squat. It's the same mechanics, and I actually like to cue it a little bit differently so that I can help people get a better feeling for how they should be squatting. So from a side view, you're gonna come into that squat position, same as you would a squat. You got dorsiflexion in your ankles, flexion in your knees, flexion in the hips. And then if you reach your arms up here or here, whatever feels comfortable, whatever you have in your shoulder mobility is fine. But again, you see a lot of the same problems here that you see in a mountain pose. So as you get here and you reach your arms up, people wanna get up super high, but that happens at the expense of lower back extension, rib flare, and then you're getting up overhead, but it's not true shoulder flexion. And so what I want you to think about is getting down into this position, just reaching forward, and then one last thing is just an exhale to make sure that those abs are turned on. And when those abs turn on, that gives the low back a lot more support. It doesn't have to do all of that stabilization as you go into extension. It just gives that low back the ability to chill. Because as you go here, right, and you're in this chair, if I were to grab a kettlebell, or I got barbell over my back, and I'm in this kind of extension, that's gonna put your low back in a really bad place, high risk of injury. So again, when I go into a chair, again, I'll let the feet be a little bit wider as well, as opposed to going in narrow, just so that you can really feel those feet pull apart, knees drive out, hips turn on, and then you're reaching your arms right here. Exhale, pull that rib cage down. All right, so this next pose I like to really think of as a movement. It's gonna be the Chaturanga, and when I call it a Chaturanga or a push-up, I like to go the term of push-up, and the reason why is because movement's movement, and we know that if you're gonna be on your back bench pressing, you're gonna be in a much stronger position if those elbows are at a 45-degree angle than if you're super narrow, or if you're up high and super wide. So being at that 45-degree angle is going to be, one, what allows those stabilizers in the back of your shoulder to do more of the work. You're able to engage the lats, but then you're also making sure that front shoulder doesn't go into internal rotation, and you're helping stay safer and stay stronger. So I'm gonna break this down. I'm gonna show a few of the mistakes that I'll see, but I wanted to iterate why I really like the elbows being out wide and having it be a push-up as opposed to something that's in a little bit narrower, where that might be, yeah, that's a Chaturanga position and the cues that you'll get, and you'd say it's maybe a triangle push-up or a tricep push-up, but if you're gonna be as strong as you wanna be, you're gonna wanna be out a little bit wider. So I'm gonna get down into a push-up position, and the first thing I'll say is it's okay to do knee push-ups. The positioning for your shoulders is gonna be in the exact same spot. So if you're on your knees, get those hips forward, and then let those elbows come back at that 45-degree angle. So you're here, elbows are coming back. It's not super narrow in by your side, and it's not out wide. Hopefully you guys can hear that. It's not out super wide. So when you're in that push-up position again, now the toes tuck, you pull that rib cage in, just like we did for that high plank. Those elbows are in right by your side, requires a lot more strength, and you're much more likely to dip forward into that shoulder. Now when we look super wide, you can really see how this becomes a problem. You see a lot of people get injured this way. They get out wide with their hand. This actually isn't a cue that anyone would ever give in yoga or in the gym, but you get out super wide like this. As soon as those shoulders come up and out, traps are really active. Now these muscles back here aren't able to help stabilize that shoulder. That's where people run into a ton of shoulder pain. It's because they're not actually using those stabilizers and warming up those stabilizers with things like band pull-aparts, or even like in yoga, I like a locust pose, or even a cobra, just getting those scaps pulled back. And so, like I said, get into this position, elbows 45 degrees, you come down, you come back up. I feel the backs of my shoulders, obviously also feel the delt, the chest. Hope that helps you fix your Chaturanga or push-up. All right, so this next pose is the Crescent Lunge. And again, I like to think of things as movement patterns. So a Crescent Lunge is gonna be no different than a lunge you do with dumbbells, barbells, kettlebells. So I'm gonna stick my right foot forward. So Crescent Lunge, there's a few different ways where you might have your arms, you might have them right here, you might have them up here, but remember what we talked about in the mountain pose and in the chair. If you're getting your arms up here and it's at the expense of your rib cage flaring out, low back's arched, right, pull that down, reach your arms overhead, rotate those pinkies in towards your ears. Now you're here. Now what I like to do from this position, one, make sure that this knee is over this ankle. Make sure that this knee is driving in, and then grip with this big toe. So this big toe right here, if you're gripping in, it's gonna radiate all the way up through your inner thigh using your adductors. So a lot of people, they're here, they fall out this way. You see that hip dump into the right side, squeeze that in, arms here. So that's the front view. Then this side view, I got my left leg here, I'm squeezing my left glute a ton. That's opening up this left hip flexor. Now as I reach up, that left glute squeeze, that helps the pelvis stay in a much better position than if I'm here, doing a bunch of different things, but I'm not active with that glute. Now as you get in here, that left heel lifts off, reaching up. This is a good strong position that you want to be in, but again, from a gym perspective, very little difference. I'm just coming down into a regular split lunge. I come up into that crescent lunge. Hope that helps. All right, so this next pose is again gonna be a movement that's really similar to things you see in the gym. It's going to be the hip hinge. And I like to specifically focus on the halfway lift. So one of the mistakes you'll see is someone gets into a halfway lift. You have them in a forward fold, then they're in a halfway lift. They might bring their hands here. They might be here, looking up with their chin. Where you wanna be, you slide those hands back, flat back. And then one of the mistakes that you'll see is people will pull their shoulders so far back that their chest is now like this. So this is essentially what their torso looks like as they're hinged over and their hands are pressed here. right? This is that rib flare, this is that chest opening that you don't necessarily want to be in when you're in this position with a barbell or the kettlebell or a trap bar or hundreds of pounds loading your spine. So as you come up here, push the hands into the shoulders, still turning on the lats, still pressing those hands into the shins so that those lats stay engaged, but not at the expense where you're pulling those shoulder blades back together, maybe pinching that pencil that you might have heard as a cue. One little thing I'll add on too is with this forward fold, right? It's okay to bend the knees, let those knees bend, whether you're in this halfway lift, keep that chin down, that helps you keep that rib cage down, keep that chin down, but then you go into that forward fold. As you lean forward, you want that stretch coming from the hamstrings. So you're thinking about getting that butt up high, whether you're in this halfway lift or you're in this forward fold. If you're feeling it a lot in your low back, you're doing it wrong. You're hinging and using your lower lumbar spine as the hinge point, not the hips. Hope that helps. All right, next pose, or really positions that I wanna go over is when I see someone sacrificing body position or stability in one area so they can get a little bit deeper into a pose. So for example, I'm gonna get into a halfway split where the goal and the focus is to get my hamstring, but people end up stretching up through their upper back, rounding through their shoulders in order to get there. So I get here, push back. I wanna keep a flat and neutral spine the entire time so that I'm not perpetuating any problems that I might have with bad posture with my upper body. We sit at our desks like this, right? So if I'm gonna go in and stretch, I don't wanna be perpetuating that and continuing that cycle of rounded shoulders, shoulders internally rotated forward. Yeah, I'm getting a hamstring stretch, but at what it cost? So rather, think of everything as a strong pillar, shoulder, shoulder, hip, hip, going forward, and then you wanna keep that spine nice and flat. If you gotta bend your knee a little bit to get there, that's all right. Now you're getting here, you're a lot more stable with every other joint, and you're getting that stretch in the hamstring. You can see this in a lot of other positions. Maybe you're trying to get, one leg stretch and you're reaching over and you're creating a ton of problems, creating a ton of compensation patterns in order to get here, whereas it would be much better for you just to bend that knee a little bit. Try and stay long, try and stay tall, and work within what your body's actually able to reach.